everyone. I call this meeting to order on October 20th at 7:02 p.m. All right. So the first item on our agenda is a motion to approve of the minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of September 15th, 2022.
Second.
All right.
Hold
All in
on,
favor?
hold on. You needed to do a roll call first.
That's right.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
The public
I'm actually
comment.
over here pulling up, make sure I have the correct agenda up here, actually. So here we go. All right, perfect. Yes, I call this meeting to order. Roll call, please. Okay, member Eileen Leahy.
Here.
Great. Member Debbie Yasik.
Here.
Okay, are there any comments? Thank you. And also Chair County Supervisors here. Are there any comments that have been submitted? No, I don't believe so. Now, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on September 15th? I have the agenda. And
Yes, motion. I make the motion.
All right, is there a
second.
second? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is our final campaign fund report analysis, which was first began in July 1st. That's when we first developed this. Thank you so very much, Eileen, again, for all of your work that you've put in the first review of this. Myself, and I know Debbie has taken a look at those, and we've agreed on your findings, your initial findings. And so was there any discussion about this or among anyone about this?
I think we need to at least state that all of them went out. I mean, all of the candidates and their treasurers have been notified and sent an audit report. And they have until, I believe, November 15th to respond. They have 30 days to respond. And we have 3 who haven't filed a report. And Regina, I think have we heard anything other than back from Miss George?
Katie George, she sent an email that I knew. And we checked with the finance department today to see if she, what payments she made to the finance office. And we did find the payment for her of $60 when she ran for office, and then a $20 late fee. So that was the only 2 records that the finance office had on Miss George.
Right. So the report on Miss George that we received that was reviewed in July was actually a 1-page summary sheet, I believe, with a correction, but there were other changes needed. It was filed in February 18th, and we reviewed it in July. Though there's no other records of her filing any other report. So what was received in February 18th was an amended form for October 25th, 21 to November 2nd, 21. So, and then I also was able to find an email from December 1st, where she corresponded with Susan Eckert. And there had been a question about what she could use the remaining funds for. And one was, I guess she was starting a nonprofit, and Susan stated that she could not use it for that. And she sent her in the body of the email the information about closing the campaign report and where those funds go to. So they can either go to a central committee or they could go to the finance committee. I mean, not the finance committee, they can go to City Hall. So Regina checked and nothing was received at City Hall. And I checked the campaign fund reports for the Annapolis Democratic Central Committee, and there's no listing of any contributions. So my recommendation to Ms. George is that we send her the forms and just say, please complete them. And if she can find her copies of what she says she submitted, please submit them.
Well, she said she didn't keep copies, and she said she's not going to pay the fine.
So what are we, that's what I was just, so upon, using that discussion piece, what are we going to do if someone doesn't want to follow what we've given?
Ashley, what can we do?
Yeah.
So, I mean, in theory, you could possibly take it to court, but I'm not sure it's worth the time and effort. The other thing is you just keep a record of it, and not that she's planning on running again, but she wouldn't be eligible to do any further political activities until all of that was cleared.
But Ashley, in the past, when people didn't pay their fee, isn't that like a municipal infraction for
That's
violating?
what I said. You could, you'd have to talk to the city attorney, but in theory, you could take it to court. But
Well, we could
That
issue
would
a
be-
city misdemeanor, correct?
Yeah.
yes, correct. So that is a discussion. So it would be, those are the sort of the two things you can do, either or both. It's a municipal infraction, and or she wouldn't be able to engage in any further activities till the matter was resolved.
What was the $20 late fee for prior?
A report in December that she turned in late.
So it's like 1 day late or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 days
Everyone,
late?
every one of her campaign reports required amending.
Mm-hmm.
I went back through them all. So,
And did she completed all of those?
well, they're hard to follow because the last one wasn't complete. It was just the top sheet. So, I think there's also a responsibility from the campaign treasurer here, from Mr. Turner. So, my thinking is that, we say, these are your options. If Ashley can assist us with a letter and just say, this is what we have. If you've got copies, which hopefully they would have copies, maybe Mr. Turner has it. But we've searched our emails, including Susan Eckert's, but she wasn't here in February, but there's nothing that we can see that was submitted. And usually if something is handed in at City Hall, it's time stamped.
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe she's thinking the February submission was what she was thinking of, but we don't have any records. So if there's a way to say, we've received your information, we have no record, if you can supply copies or do the forms, or submit information of where, she had about $2,200 left in her campaign fund. So where did it go?
Yeah. And well, from the email that was shared with us, it just sounds as if it's either we change our analysis and not hold her accountable, or she's just going to, she's just going to ignore everything that was, it says she doesn't have the bandwidth. So that gives me that she's not going to heed to what we've shared. And so I think it just needs to take it to the next step. I don't see, what is our response going to do besides cause even more back and forth? And I don't think that's necessary. No hostility should be a cause from this. It's a protocol and procedure that you all have followed. I know when Eileen, when you have been a part of this, and if you've seen it in the past, I'm sure that you've never had to really go through this. Have you?
We have had people that have,
Mhm.
yeah, we've had similar situations, and we request that they follow the law and they submit it. She has the opportunity to submit. This is, she can do this. This is her responsibility. There is documentation and emails showing that she was notified of what she needed to do to file a final report, what she could do with those funds. And I think we owe it to the people that contributed to her campaign. Where is the $2,200?
Right, that's the
And-
key, yeah.
Please,
And I think that we do have something. We don't have a lot of enforcement, but I think we do, want to respond and acknowledge that we did receive her letter, and we don't have any records for her to please submit the necessary forms. And if she doesn't, it would, it has the potential to have a municipal infraction or a misdemeanor filed, and see if that helps to motivate her. And I would like to think that she would want to follow the law.
Debbie, did you have a question
Yeah,
or thought?
yeah, I agree. We've spent time on this. There is a rule of law, the city clerk, the attorney's office, the code, the charter. We cannot ignore the laws and the work that everyone has done correctly. And even though she has checked out and moved out of state, her treasurer is still here, right? Mr. Turner, he's still local?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
Because, I've been treasurer for 2 different candidates, and yes, the candidates were very capable and very involved and on top of things. So they did not, rely on me solely. They were a part of it as well. But yeah, the treasurer needs, read and know everything as well. But if she does have money left, which we can, as far as we know, she does, that 2,200 has to go where it's supposed to go. And you've checked the places where it should go, and it hasn't gone to either of those places. She does have a fine that she is saying, no way is she going to pay when you can't take the fine out of the campaign, right?
fund,
The fine is separate.
Mhm.
But if we have these rules, we have to have a way to enforce them, or it's just not worth it.
It's not fair for candidates. It's not fair for anyone who may go through this or may feel these ways to just opt out when we all signed on and agreed, if you're running for office or what have you, that you have to abide by these, and we all have to be accountable, even myself. And so, Madam Clerk, I know that you were, it was sent to you. Would you recommend that we, or myself, or we send a response to her, or would you like to send that response and share with her what the alternative would be?
I know that we've done this in the past. I'm not really sure who we sent a legal letter to, but I think we should send a letter like we did in the past. But it should come from the Office of Law, because it has no business coming from me or from you guys, because
I believe it's come from the Office of Law in the
Ashley.
past.
Thank you. Ashley, do you mind please taking that and drafting?
Yeah, I
something
was
for-
just taking notes. So I'll draft that up. I'll run it by you guys first. I will loop the city attorney in, just because if his litigation team has to handle municipal infraction, I want him on the heads up, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Okay. So if there's no more discussion on that, this was definitely the first time I've seen this, but let's move forward to the next item on the agenda, which is the updates on application and proposed process for selecting the membership of the task force. So let's just dive straight into these
Okay.
forms and
So I
discuss.
sent you a couple of things. So I talked with, I hope I say her name right, Inna. And we were trying to meet, Regina and I were trying to meet with her this week, but she helped me understand what she can do. She basically provides content. One of the assumptions I made was wrong, which was I didn't think we could change the application, but she said we can edit it.
Ooh,
So
fantastic.
that's why I did, I took out my notes because I knew there was some discussion in the past about other things we might want to see on it. So we could, if you look at that page on edits to the application, we could, put in something about the statement of interest. Are you a registered voter in Maryland? What's your party affiliation? So those could be added. The next question would be, is the application requires 3 references? And I wasn't quite sure how that's worked in the past, or if we wanted to do that. That was a question. And then the other question was, we just had to figure out where we were electronically going to have them sent.
Eileen, I've never seen an application with references,
Mm.
unless they were applying for a job. The city job.
Yeah, I don't think we need references.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
'Cause that's-
It has in there about, experience, business, work experience and education, and that's easy enough if somebody wants to attach a resume, but I don't really see what we're going to be checking references on.
Right.
Yeah, for specific. Well, I do believe for one of the questions, if we could actually include here, I know we were explaining your interest in being appointed. If we can clarify of really what their focus would be, like what would they want to bring to the task force, what ideas, what thoughts, because we're not going to be structuring the platform for them, although we'll be giving our input and sharing our thoughts. But I think it'd be great for us to have an idea as to what will they be bringing to this task force, and that could help us in selecting the people that we feel would really dive into election law and help shape the agenda that we've all talked about and agreed upon. What did you all think about that?
Well, this says to it, in the draft from Eileen, explain your interest and state your experience with election law or elections. So I think that kind of would lead into somebody saying why they're interested. What do they like? What do they not like? What do they know? What hasn't worked here? What they might know works somewhere else. Because it says, what is your interest? Which if I saw that, I would say, well, my interest is, nonpartisan elections because, I worked under that form and it's so much better than what we have. Or, so I think that kind of, because some people might not know, I don't know. I don't want to choose people because of what they may already think. I want to choose a group that together
Right. Well,
makes.
It's kind of splitting hairs, but it's similar. It's a little different. We could do something like explain your interest in being appointed and what you feel you can bring to the task force as one sentence, and then say, please include or please list your experience with election law and or elections. If we want to combine it as opposed to a separate question, what would that be like?
I like that. I think that sounds good because it captures all the sides. Because my interest could be just to help change election law, but my what I would want to bring or what I want to change in election law could be something totally that's in depth. I can now give you some detail as to what I would like to see. Open primary, I can now share all those things, and some people probably won't, but by giving them that, it'll probably open up their thinking and probably have them share.
Okay.
Yeah, probably prepare them to share a little more.
Okay, I can rephrase that and send it out to you all.
Great.
Going back to the references, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a bad idea to just have them list one.
I thought about maybe one, especially because I saw here nominations, including self-nominations. Now, was that specifically to if someone said, like, if a city council person?
Let's finish references first before we go to the next.
I was asking if those two, if that was relating to one, like what would those?
One's a reference. No, one would be a reference of somebody I know. But if we're not going to do anything with it, then we also don't need to have it in there.
Well, I think if someone is saying that they have 20 years of experience, or let's say 10 years of experience in a election, what have you, if they had a reference of maybe a supervisor, or maybe an organization leader, if they're with vote.org or something like that, if they have a reference from Fair Vote or something, I think that would be helpful in us making a decision, because we're saying, okay, now you have the backing of someone who knows what they're talking about, not just your word or what you've shared with us. So maybe one reference. I wouldn't be opposed to at least having one reference, especially in a task force so as important as this. How do you feel, Debbie?
Think, Debbie?
Yeah, I could go with one, just because the number is so small. But who's choosing the 5? Say we get 10 references.
No, we're just talking about if someone makes an application, they list one reference to them.
So we get 10 applications and there's only 5 slots.
That's not having I don't understand what that means with the reference.
I guess, I forget, are we choosing the 5?
Yes,
Yeah.
so we're going to need to come up with a checklist. So the process is.
So then a reference could help.
You guys are recommending the 5.
The council will appoint.
Right.
We're recommending, and the council will confirm.
You're recommending,
Okay.
and the mayor is going to choose and send his recommendation to the council based on Alderman Savage's amendment to to the resolution.
Yeah, we saw that amendment.
So we're just looking at the application now. So it's a reference to the application. So
it wouldn't hurt. We could or
Okay.
could not use it, but it wouldn't hurt to have
All right, so
one.
we'll take the other two out and we'll leave one. And then where it should be electronically sent and emailed will come up when we meet as far as setting it all up on the webpage.
Oh,
With-
okay. Did you
So,
wanna-
so the question then becomes for the application. Let me back up a little bit. I know for the Charter Revision Commission, we had a separate Gmail account, which we can get a separate Gmail account. But the thought was, do we want to set up a web page for a task force now, or do we just want to include the application and the, getting nominations on our web page that we have right now? And then when the task force comes into being, they get a separate web page. So do we have one web page let me try to explain. We either put all the application stuff on our current web page, just add it to the board's web page, and then later the task force can get a Gmail account, or it can be transferred to them later. Or do we want to set something up for the task force and put everything on there now? I'm not sure I'm very clear, but
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I think I know what you're trying to say. Basically, since you guys are looking for the membership of the task force, it should be on the Board of Elections page because you're looking
agree.
for the people. Then once you get your people together, maybe have the task force page and the Gmail set up for them. Is that what you're trying to say?
exactly. But we somehow need a Gmail account to handle the applications. Now, I don't know if we're going to be flooded with them, but the Gmail, if we had a Gmail account, it allows us to have the Google Drive so we can be.
So let me just ask you a question. So the email address at elections@annapolis.gov is your email address for you guys. So what is the difference between that email address and a Gmail account?
Well, the Gmail account, you can have a Google Drive, and then you can go in and actually look at them separately. They're not getting emailed to you. They go to that account and we can go into the account and look at it.
Okay.
So we could use the current email, which, by the way, I believe on our website, it has boards. I don't think they've listed. They have your email, Regina, and then they have boards, which goes to Hillary. So we could put it on and do the election, but then that goes on you to send it to all of us. See what I'm saying? So if applications come in, they'll need to be forwarded to our personal email accounts because
Couldn't,
Can we?
so the boards at annapolis.gov is a Gmail account. So it should be able to access, because like I have an at annapolis.gov account and it accesses all the Google stuff. And then you could set up a folder that's already shared with
Yeah,
other
that's
three
what
of
I
you
would
guys'
like.
personal
I would
stuff.
like that.
And so then Regina would just need to drop it in. And because you guys would all be added as editors to it, you would all be able to go in there. That's
All right,
what
so
some of my
Anna
other
didn't
boards
tell-
do.
Okay, Sienna didn't tell me that. She was saying we'd have to set something separate up.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can double check, but I know a couple of my other boards did stuff like that. I think the Conservancy Board and the Arts Commission both have shared Google Drives where like the members are all added on to the
Right.
Google Drive and it's connected to their board or commission's account. And then they could just sort of share stuff.
Right, and you think we already have one?
Yeah, almost all of the at annapolis.govs, we run our email through Google. So they should all be
Okay.
Google
so
accessible
Google
accounts.
Suite.
All right, well, Regina,
And that-
But if someone gives me the login information or if Regina logs in, I can play around with it and look.
okay, so we could just use that for the applications for now
Right,
and then deal with the
And
task
then we
force
would
people.
add all three of your personal as a shared. We would share it with you as editors, and you could go in and look through your own accounts.
Okay,
But you guys would need. Well, I don't know if you need Google accounts or not. If we can just share it to whoever.
it helps. It helps if you have a Gmail account.
Yeah, I was
know
gonna say it
that
probably helps, but
I do. Don't we all? I think we all do, right?
the one I use the most is Yahoo, but I have access to a Gmail account.
Now, I did see it. It is confirmed. It is just boards at annapolis.gov, which means that the elections, we don't have our own personal email. So, but it would be a folder, she's saying that would be dedicated to the Board of Supervisors of Elections, and then we three would have access to that folder. And then would we then, and of course we can talk about when we get there, but we then could create another folder for the task force so that, or would they have their own? Would you then create another folder for them?
I'd have to look at it and figure it out, but I mean, it's not that.
Well, and they can
It
decide
depends.
if they
You would
want that
probably
too.
want to create at least a subfolder because you wouldn't want them touching all of your stuff. So it'd
Exactly.
probably be like you'd have a big giant folder that is for you guys, and then within that you would have a subfolder that you would have access to, but you would only share that to the task force because you don't want them looking at the rest of your stuff.
Yeah, and I
Correct.
think that would be important for us to have access to it, because when we get to this part of the of what you shared, Eileen. But okay, I think, yeah, please, Ashley, if you can look into that and then confirm with us, because if not, I don't mind us creating a separate Gmail, but if it's all centered in one place and it's easier for the city and you all don't
But
have to do extra work.
yeah, and usually if we can connect it, the nice thing about connecting it to a city account is that way we sort of create a record of it because it can get
Yep.
backed up by our team. So that way, like, if one of you guys resigns or, something like that, it's not lost into like,
I agree.
wherever.
And it's secure, I'm sure. I'm sure y'all have a
Yeah.
security. Yes, Madam Clerk.
Can I just say something? We talked to Hillary about this a little bit, and she said something about having them separate, didn't she, Eileen? About the
Yeah, she didn't bring that up, and neither did Enna. They were like, you have to fill out a form to the help desk and you pay $75 to have a
yeah,
separate.
that's it. Yeah.
Well,
somebody-
that's if each member wanted a city
Yeah.
account. But if we just have a generic board account, we can share it with all the individual members. What they're talking about is we would get like each member would get an Annapolis.gov email account. We don't need to do that to create a Google file.
No, we were talking about Google. They said it cost 75, both
Yeah.
Hillary and Enna said it cost $75
That's what they
to
said.
set up a Google account. So I think what
Well,
we
I
need
know,
to
but
do-
we're not setting up an account. I mean, in theory, we could set this up under Regina's shared folder that she would just share with you guys. We don't need to set up. They're talking about like specifically giving you like an elaine.leahy@annapolis.gov email account,
No,
which is not what we need to do to share a folder. of
right. No,
stuff.
we were specifically asking about a Google account, but let's find out first if we have an elections@gmail.com or can access one, because if
Yeah.
that exists, that would work.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
we
you can use that,
definitely
or like I
need-
said, you can the city clerk can set it up through her account and share a folder with. I mean, if all we're doing is sharing a Google Drive folder,
Right.
that's that's all we're trying to accomplish here.
And we'll also need an email though for if say for instance someone has a question. Hey, I'm extremely interested in being a part of this. They could have researched it. They could have looked up the applicant. They could have did all that. But I'm extremely interested. Maybe they just want to share with us that. I'm extremely interested in being a part of the task force. Will you please send me this? All of us would need to be able to access that email to respond to them.
Right. Well, yeah, but
Well,
we'll have
that might cost money. If
Yeah.
you think that would
what
probably
we're-
cost
I
money.
think that's what they're talking about.
Let's find out about that, because again, it's going to be one person. I mean, everybody can access certain parts of it, but one person will be responding to, for the information.
Mhm.
Regina,
Yeah.
Did you have something,
I'll
Virginia?
talk with Enna tomorrow, and Hillary's out, but I can talk to Enna tomorrow and try to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay. So that's about the email here. So we've moved forward from the references. We're talking about where should it electronically be sent to. We're now working. You'll get some information about that. Are we now
Right.
moving to the nominations portion?
Sure.
That was the last question on there.
Yeah, and that's just another, I just put that in partly just to let people know they can self-nominate if they wanted. So it's
So
kind of.
what exactly would that look like?
It's kind of it's kind of the same purpose, which is where do you send the application and then where do you ask questions? So
So when you say nominations, what exactly are you talking about? The members?
it's applications. I mean, my purpose in putting that in was just to let people know nomination. So you could just say nomination. I mean, you don't even have to have it in there if you wanted. you have where, applications, applications can be emailed to the address by the deadline. I was
I
just
see.
thinking
You're
on the
saying any of
application
us
of just
having,
letting people know that they can self-nominate. And maybe nominate's just not a good word.
yeah,
Just
I
let
wasn't,
people-
when I hear nominate, I'm thinking someone's sending in a name and saying, I nominate this person to be on the task force.
Well, we'll
So just,
just take it out.
okay. Let's see. Great. So we already, yeah, these, I think that's pretty much, all of this that I see here is pretty much what we would be looking for, the questions that we're looking for. Was there, I don't think there's anything missing right now. I can't
We
think
need
of
to come
anything.
up with a deadline, which isn't part of the timeline, but we could discuss
Right.
it here if you wanted.
Okay, let's move on to that. Let me go to. Oh, I see. Eileen, now I understand. So, okay. So this is if I have a friend and I want to nominate that friend to be on the task force.
Right.
I'm going to say, okay, hey, I nominate this person to be on task force. Please consider them. Okay. I think, all right.
I
So
mean,
is it
maybe
a
better,
letter of support, or is that more so that does that person know about being nominated? Because then why would,
right.
we
I
would
mean,
have to,
you could just put something, and again, we're looking at, putting something on the web page. So if we're on the board webpage, we could have something in. If you are interested in serving on the task force or know someone who might be, please,
Yeah.
please send an email, maybe put it that way. And then you can link it into the application or something like that. That's what I was thinking of.
Sure. I like that. I think that would
But
be fine.
anybody nominated needs to agree that they want to be
Yeah.
on it.
Well, they have to make an application. So if they don't want to be on it, we're only going to act on applications.
But we'll still send it to them and say, hey, we've received a nomination that you may be
A
interested in.
suggestion, right.
Yeah,
We
suggestion
could do
that you may
that.
be. Yeah, I think
And
that
again, I'm
would,
thinking if like the city council member, like I've had a couple of people say, have you thought about this person? So that way we could say, the task force is being formed, your name was forwarded to us as someone who might be interested. And
yeah.
here's the application if you would like to complete it, and just leave it at that. But I'm just thinking if someone said, it's just something that would, again, a link, we're trying to make it as easy as we can on our webpage so that if people go to the webpage and they see task force, they can click. So I'll come up with a mock-up and see if that's a little easier to understand.
Okay. So we already talked about the ethics form that was shared with us. We are going to have it centered all through our webpage until, of course, it's necessary to have their own web page. I did see something before we get into the other nitty gritty. I did see something here that I recall us talking about them joining at least, because Eileen, I see your role as being, an advisor or, someone who can really help them with questions and, but not necessarily someone who, and of course, Debbie as well, alternative of someone who is directing it. And so just to give them that independence. But so I think it would be great if they were able to also maybe join in on a meeting or two within maybe a meeting or 2 or 3 within that 6-month frame to share with us updates. Is that possible?
I think when I think once you appoint them, they're supposed to go and then come back when they're done.
Right. You
Okay,
can,
so
we
they
can,
wouldn't be able to come to provide updates or anything?
I don't
well, I think
know.
what we talked about was that I would give a report at each of our meetings. Now you can go back and look at the meeting. You can view the meeting.
Yeah,
Not
I think it was
participate in it.
yeah, I just recall in one of our meetings we chatted about their chair or someone maybe on them providing to us a report or thoughts, so that's coming directly from them instead of having our liaison, come and speaking on their behalf. That's what I recall us talking about. So I'm just bringing that back up to see how we felt about that, because I think. And maybe it's okay if we don't all agree, but I do think that it would be great to hear directly from the chair of that task force to share with us what they've been working on, how the direction that they're taking, and give them a little bit more independence and lead instead of having our member of the board to do it on their behalf. That's what I was over here thinking. But if that's never been done.
Yeah. I remember that we were going to have them periodically report to us how they were doing.
Right. But I guess I'd like to give them a lot of autonomy also. And so it's hard if someone were to come to our meeting and give a report for us not to want to have questions and feedback, but we can certainly ask them to, particularly the secretary could ask for a summary that we receive on a monthly basis. Does that work?
Well, sure. If that's because I know that there have been times where people come and they give reports, but there aren't any questions at all. Hey, this is an update of what we've been. Oh, thank you for sharing. And then maybe in our meeting personally, we can discuss. Okay, the task force are talking about this, and then Eileen, you can go back and share maybe some thoughts that the board has. So it's not as if we're drilling them in our meetings, but it's more so an open space for them to come and share with us what they've been working on. That's just what I've been thinking of.
Yeah, but I think we need to give them autonomy.
Yeah, I don't think it kind of works like that. I think that when you appoint this commission, you need to let them go, and then they turn in what they find at the end to you guys, and then they come and meet with you guys and you discuss it, and maybe you can amend what they want to send to the city council. But I thought that task force, they work and take care of their business and use the resources of the city, and information that they're provided from outside sources, inside sources, and they come up with their own report, and it's not swayed by the board because they're separate from you guys once they start.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can certainly give them, something from the board saying, we could give them the list that was presented to the city council in that work session. We could give them that, or if we want to update our own, we can certainly give them things that this is what we want you to consider or cover. But
yeah, I don't think, it's not more so to kind of tell them what to do more than it's just to keep us abreast directly from them. That's where I was coming from.
We could ask for an interim report at the 3-month mark if you wanted.
Yeah, I thought it would be, if we're looking at 6 months.
Yeah, like maybe halfway would be good.
Yeah. I thought it was more of just a periodic report, halfway or a third of the way, and not to interface with them so much, but just to kind of just to know how they're doing. Are they on? Is it tracking okay? Do they have the resources they need? Do
they have questions about?
Are they going to finish in time?
Now,
we don't want to be blindsided at the end that they never even hardly started.
Right, but remember, we can watch their meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their meetings are going to be taped. So I think it behooves all of us to be committed that we're going to watch their meetings. And so that will also help us know what topics they're going to be having public hearings that are going to need to be advertised. So I think, we have the ability to kind of follow along a bit. I know that, again, I hate to keep going back to the Charter Revision Commission, but I know there were quite a few people that followed. Particularly some council members that we could tell who was watching during the meeting. So,
and we could also, you could also, Keanu, make their agenda part of your packet and look at what they're discussing. We could just, because I'm the person that's going to be posting their agendas. One of my duties as a sign, so I can also make sure that that's on your agenda, an item. This is what they discuss. Yeah, and or any minutes that they approve, we could put their, you could add their minutes and their agenda, and you can always know what they're doing for every meeting.
All right. Well, I think we're on agreement. I think a halfway mark is definitely nice to just say, hey, y'all, okay, we're done. And then Eileen, you would be coming and sharing with us that report at the monthly meeting from them. And then we can just continue on with that.
I see my role mostly, at least particularly with them, is just kind of helping with what the city code says and just being a resource in that regard and not really getting involved in discussions or anything like that, merely
Yeah.
to give some historical background also.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she is also, and Eileen is also a good contact because she has a good working relationship with the county. So if there's something we don't know, she has a inside with the county that we can reach out to them. And if she can, ask the question and she'll get a faster response than somebody they don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
All right. So I think that's okay. But
Are
that
you
was just on that
comfortable
point.
with that?
Yeah, no, everything. Yeah, I'm comfortable. Absolutely. I think everything will work out the way it needs to. I just wanted to I know we talked about it, and since we're now moving forward and things are going, I wanted to bring that back up because I had been thinking about it
Okay.
for some day. I have been thinking about it, and I just wanted to make sure. So, and of course, if there's anything, we could also always request or ask, for clarification. We can also always do those things at one of our meetings. So it'll come. Okay. Now, I think next we were talking about.
Well,
Eileen, please.
can we just look at the webpage information? I just put in some
Yeah.
content in terms of, if anybody, you could send me edits if you want, or I was trying just to, this would be on the webpage. So if somebody was interested in the task force, that they would get some basic information. I was trying to anticipate the types of questions people ask, like how many meetings are there going to be and how long is it going to be? So that's what I was trying to do. With that.
Are you referring to the BOSC,
It would
the
go,
the task
right,
for
we would have
webpage info
another,
draft? Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
right.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think I think you've summed it up quite clearly. What the task force will be doing. That's what I was.
Because what N is asking me for is content. So that's what I was trying to do, is to come up with content and then combine what we talked about in terms of the application. And so this would be a page connected to the board's webpage. So if someone was interested in the task force, they would go and get this information and then the link to the application. So they don't need to do an ethics form. So that doesn't need to be included. And then the other question was.
Yeah, I think we could include the selection process, so that now the question would we be inviting them to come on to the members to, are we just going to base it solely on the application, or are we going to actually offer times for them to come on and speak if the timeline permits, to come on and chat with us? Or
I think that's a good question. I think that goes into what our timeline's going to be. So once we decide what the process is, we can look at that. We may have a bit of a space issue, but we could put something succinctly into it. So yeah, we could certainly look at that. And then the other question still comes down to what's the deadline going to be? But maybe we need to discuss that after we look at the process.
Timeline, yeah.
the process. So.
Well, I'll play with this. I mean, this is all still in draft form. So if you have any other comments, I'll draft and send it out before I give it to Inna, and then Inna can format it and we can look at it again before it goes live.
This is beautiful.
And then we need to publicize, we need to publicize it at least a little bit.
Right. Well, Anna handles the social media. I haven't been able to catch up with Mitchell, but I've left messages for Mitchell and an email from Mitchell to know that it's coming. So that'll all come through them. And then we can send out emails also to city council and, other groups, but we have to get all of this put together first.
Yeah, and we also have to confirm if we're going to be using that central email that we'll have access to. And I think that'd be helpful to allow everything to just keep coming and filtering through there for us to have eyes on it.
But we've identified in here, the central committees. I mean, there's a whole, and if there's other ones that you want to send it to, again, it can come out of, it should come out of one place, which would be our emails. So I think it has city council members, political groups, and community organizations. I'll tell you though, the community organization list that's on the city website is very old and
Yeah.
not very up to date. So we may have some others. I mean, I know Parole has an active community center, Ward 1, Eastport Civic Association. We can also send it to HACA. That's another one that responds sometimes. So, but we'll I mean, that's something that Mitchell can assist us with.
Beautiful. Yes. Sure. With her list, with the list of orgs and things that we have. Because I'm sure maybe even some electeds outside of the city council may be interested. And I know some out of county members, because I know we're not just choosing, we've emphasized this, people from Annapolis. And it may be people from outside of Annapolis who have experience like Tacoma Park or Hyattsville, where they've been able to work on this and really centered it. I'm very proud of us, by the way, Madam Clerk and everyone. Like, this is, wow, we really got a good task force developed from just conversation and working and getting it done. So I'm very proud and glad. I can't wait to see the result of this.
Well, I'll add the boards of elections to others. There's also the Municipal League is on the list. The State Board of Elections, Jared DeMoranis, who's assisted us a lot in the past, may have some comments. So these are all people we can send them out to. So if you have a specific person, we'll just list them.
Okay, great. Now, did you have something that I was? Now I'm looking at
No. I mean, we're looking at the deadline. We're hoping to get this finished by the end of the year so that they can do their job the first, 6 months of 2023.
I don't think they're not going to get started till March or April, because we have to go through the city council. So
looking at your timeline, I guess this is what we were hoping for, to have the deadline. We need a deadline. And we were hoping for December 1st.
Well, that was one. I mean, if we got everything up and going by November 1st, which is just 10 days away, essentially, that would give a month to get applications in. So is that even enough time?
I think a month's plenty.
I'm just thinking also the holidays.
Yeah.
So if we made it December 15th, it gives us enough time that we could do an initial review at our December meeting. And then we may still get some others that we haven't reviewed. But I think, and Regina, you can help me with this. When we talked with Hillary, we're really looking at probably not getting it on the city. It has to go to the mayor. So if we don't make final selections until January, then it goes to the mayor, and then you're into the council meeting in February, and then it goes to rules. Correct? Does it have to have first and second reader?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that means.
Well, these will be appointments by the mayor, so they would know they could be adopting one meeting.
Okay. So let's say February, they get appointed, and maybe they'll meet in March. And actually, that's not a bad time, because that means that they have until the end of September. And I'd much rather have the city council's attention in the fall than I would later when they're looking at budget.
Yeah, as long as we can get it done by the end of 2023, and this timeline is suggesting that the report be submitted to us by September, October 2023. And so if we can get it in September or October, the council will be back from August recess. Maybe some of the backlog will be taken care of. So if we can get it ourselves in September, October, give it to council in October, November, just so we can get it finished by the end of 2023, because we're going to start, people will start campaigning in 2024.
2024
August, they can't, it talks in August. So it gives us enough time. I mean, we're getting up to that But this is going to be a big change. So I don't
Yeah.
expect the council, it's going to have additional probably public hearings, and it's still going to be quite a process once the recommendations are made. We're talking about basically the potential to completely revamp.
Our election
Um,
system. And
Yeah, and so, the number one thing the task force is going to have to address is partisan versus nonpartisan, because they're very different codes, depending on how. So it's not going to be easy.
But
They'll
we're
have a
hoping
lot
that
to do in 6 months.
we're hoping that it'll be ready for the next election, right? Is that our goal?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yes.
But the election year doesn't start until August of 2024.
Okay.
Great. So okay, so I know it seems like our meeting is going to be so far away when we want the answers now. So you'll update us from the conversations you'll have with and everyone about the email, the drive, all of that.
Right.
And then that will
So-
help us.
So you think a month is enough to get it in?
I'm not certain about that. Yeah, Madam Clerk, did you have a question?
No, I was just gonna say that Eileen's been working really hard to coordinate all this stuff. I do apologize. We were filling a position and doing double duty for a little bit. So she was carrying the ball by herself. So Eileen, I just want to thank you publicly for assisting me while I was drowning, but just a little bit.
That's all right. We were in touch. So
Yeah.
it's all a bit of a learning curve. So,
Yeah.
well, what if we can get it by November 1st, the question is 4 weeks enough, and we make it December 1st? If it doesn't get done by November 1st, and let's say it doesn't get started till November 7th, then we're looking at another month out, but it does bump it back a bit.
So we're saying November 1st for the application, the page and everything to be up live for us to then promote for 4 weeks.
Correct. Which would make the deadline December 1st, which means we can look at it in December at our meeting. Now, we may or may not make a decision then. We may narrow it down, but we may have to either go with a special meeting in January or wait until our other meeting in January. So, I mean, it's flexible as far as what our needs are going to be. To me, it's just a question, is a month long enough to get the word out and have people apply?
But so if we're not going to need the applications until our meeting, which would be, is that December 22nd?
No, it's the 20th. And it's always midnight madness.
Yeah. So
And I think we're going to physically need to be together if possible.
and we don't need a hard December 1 deadline if nobody's going to do anything with them until the 22nd.
Well, our meeting is the 20th, and when you get
So
applications.
the 20th of December is a
22nd.
Tuesday.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it'll be
Oh, I'm
22nd,
sorry.
Thursday.
I kept thinking it was the 20th. I guess I was thinking tonight.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to make it right up to that, because, they need to have a cursory review to make sure that
Sure.
everything's there.
Right. So I'm not sure we're going to make the November 1 date to be ready. Maybe we should, push for getting our end of it with the emails and the website as soon as possible within the next 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then push the deadline more to December 12 or something, because I'm not sure we're going to be ready November 1 to post it. And then if we make it December 12, that still gives us 10 days before we meet, that we can see what we have to look at.
12 days. Gives us 12 days. Oh yeah, 10 days, and then it's 12 from the 10th.
Okay, so that would be a Monday.
Yeah. Now it's kind of like Mondays for deadlines, just because it gives people a weekend. If they're,
Mhm.
if they're busy, they can maybe get it out on the weekend.
Okay, and that's almost
Mhm.
6 weeks, so, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think a month and a half would probably be a good comfortable range, if not 2 months, because that is a little lengthy in time. But I think a month and a half does give us that extra 2 week of, okay, oh, I just found out about it. I meant to send in my application.
Mhm.
Because I'm
Okay.
confident we'll get at least 10, 15. I believe there's going to be a good interest in this, especially if we promote through the city, through our own network. Um, this is going to be a crucial task force. So
Okay, all right. All right, so I will be working with Inna and Regina and touch base with Ashley. We'll get the emails and get the kind of the specifics set up for how the application, I'll get the draft of the application, which Inna can put together. So she likes everything written. So today is Thursday. I probably, to be honest, won't probably Monday, I'll be able to sit down and touch base with her. So I'll try to shoot for the end of next week to have things ready to be reviewed and go live the following week. That may be optimistic, but
yeah,
we'll go for it.
yeah. Please
I don't
let
know, do
me
you work
know.
better under pressure, Eileen, or?
Well, I mean, I have the advantage of being retired, so.
Yeah, but
Right, I was
still,
gonna say I'm over here
I'm kind of
thinking,
retired and I'm busier than ever, it seems.
no,
So,
but you're definitely been really, and I think we're gonna
right.
see the work of this
And-
labor, Eileen. So
And just to bring up another thing, and this has come up at a public meeting, we do have the potential for a special meeting come early 2023.
Exactly.
So we need to be very cognizant of
Yeah.
what we need to be doing and what our time's going to be. So
Exactly.
if we can get this handled in December, that would be great. If we can't get it at our meeting in December, something in early January would be great. And Ashley, are you still with us? I think.
I see
Maybe
her.
not. We had talked with Ashley also about when we review these in a meeting, if we would have a closed session.
Hmm.
So if that will need to be brought, that will need to be announced. So I would anticipate that even if we just have we'll have at least something to discuss in December. So I think we should prepare that we'll do a closed session.
Okay, December meeting.
Right. Do you all agree with that, or do you?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I just, I would feel more comfortable at a closed session since we're going to be dealing with specific people and
No, that's
their
appropriate.
personal information, so.
Yeah, recall.
And I
Okay.
did ask Ashley and she said it did fit the criteria for that, so. Okay.
Beautiful. Now, are there any other thoughts about what was shared, this timeline? We're gonna kind of review, update. I think all the feedback was shared and given. If Debbie, you didn't have anything else, I think we've touched on each piece of this. Was there anything, Eileen, that you felt that we?
No, I think we covered it. I've been taking notes. I'll update things and get them back out to you, but I think we're in a pretty good place and at least get some information to Inna to get it set. And then once we touch base with Mitchell, then we can send things out and we have a place for people to go to and just start the actual process. So.
Exactly. Well, okay, so we'll just look out for your update sometime next week or in the next week and a half. And we can just move forward if there isn't anything else on this to that referral that we received, CA 222, the Board of Supervisors elections to the City Council.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So anyone want to speak on this first before I?
Well, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Oh, I just wanted to say that basically at your last meeting, I just took the vote that you made and I created your referral form back to the city council, and I added your vote to request that the city council postpone action on CA2 until after the task force had met, and that's all your referral sent to them. And then that when they were at one meeting, I'm not sure. I don't recall which one it was. Eileen said that they had questions, so that's the reason why we added this back to the agenda.
The Rules Committee
Okay.
was hoping that someone would be there and had some shared some misinformation. I don't know. Debbie, did you watch the committee meeting?
I couldn't.
Well, if you want,
I was gone that day and I knew I couldn't do it, but that was my concern. I think we had a little
Yeah, I
flurry of
agree to that.
emails because
So-
I thought one of us was supposed to be there.
Well, we
And
don't-
at the time I had thought I could, but then I couldn't.
Right. So a person from, you don't necessarily have to be there, but it helps, but also to have a staff report put in ahead of time. So for instance, Keanu, if you wanted, you might want to put together and just say the reason that we're asking for the postponement is number one, because of the task force. The other thing that also has come up is that it doesn't, there's no mechanism to put it into practice. And and then the task force may end up changing it anyway. So it's not just the task force, it's also, it doesn't have a piece, they can pass it, but
How is it going to take place?
you
Who's
can't
gonna-
process it because the way, they have to look at the other charter piece that goes with it, which is how you fill those, and that includes central committee. So the whole thing may end up being completely outdated by next year. So I think if you can write up just a report from the board and send it out to all of us, and then we can comment, and then that can get to them ahead of time. And the reason, and then go to the charter commission. So there's two things. One is why it should go to 5 members, and that came from the charter commission. And that rationale is in the report.
Yeah.
But then what we're saying we're asking for a postponement due to these two specific reasons. One is the task force, and one is that passing this would be premature because there's not a mechanism for putting it into enacting it. So if we could get something ahead of time and then have someone available to ask specific questions. I also would recommend that if you have a chance to watch the meeting on the website.
Okay.
There was some misinformation in there. Alderman Arnett thought that that part of the reason to go to 5 was because there's been problems in the past with only 2
Two
members.
members.
And that literally in the 8 years that I was on happened once.
Mm.
And unfortunately, it happened the day that we had to make a decision about mail-in ballots.
Mm.
And so our Republican colleague had a family emergency, but he did file a statement which was read into the record.
I remember
But
that.
I know a lot of people have focused on that one meeting.
Yeah.
So
So
if
Jen-
the rules committee, did the rules committee ask us to attend their last meeting?
No,
But yet they wanted us there.
well, no, I just think that they have discussion and questions just come up.
right, and we can preempt that. Generally, what in the past, what's happened is if there's going something to a committee, the committee files a report to the committee. We really just said postpone it. There was no report saying why we were postponing it. So that comes from one of us. I mean, that generally the chair has done it, or it comes from the group, but it's a question of who's going to draft it. So anytime we have something going to rules, we really should have a statement, just like the staff would make a report. It should be
A
a
rationale.
board report. A what? The
A
rationale.
rationale.
So I
Your-
guess
your-
they're meeting,
The referral needs a rationale.
right? So if maybe it's something you could do, Keanu, or if you wanted to draft it, or Debbie wants to draft it and then circulate it, and then we can send it to them. And then certainly we can go to the meeting, and then if they want to talk, they can ask us, but we don't have to.
When does rules meet again?
It's not scheduled for another rules agenda. The next thing that happens is it goes to city council.
Mm.
Well,
But the
So we-
questions were asked at the rules committee meetings.
right,
Did
but
they
then
get their answers?
but they postponed it to the next meeting, Regina.
Okay, I'm sorry, too many meetings.
Yeah. So
I will double check.
So I have it down that it's Friday, November 4th
That is the right date, yes.
at 3:00.
Yes, no, 1:00.
They said 1:00, and then I was ready and it showed up to be 3:00.
Yeah, they changed that meeting because one of the members had an issue, but their typical meeting time is 1:00.
All right, because
Because
that
that
didn't
happened
happen.
last time too, yeah.
Right.
That's going to
But
school
we didn't
then.
know it. Okay. So,
When I
and
send, when I send out the meeting notification, I will include the board in it. So if you accept the invitation, it'll be on your calendar. So you'll have the exact time of the meeting.
Okay.
So should Bose send a written statement to rules before their November or for their November 4th meeting, or show up in person?
That's up to you guys. You did submit your referral form to the city council. You can amend your referral form and put your rationale as to why,
Right.
To answer the questions. And I can add that to the bottom of the referral form and resubmit it.
Right. I
If you
think it would
choose.
be beneficial to watch the meeting. It's on first on the agenda, watch the meeting, and then send them a follow-up and just say, these are the reasons we are asking for postponement. And then,
That doesn't have to be too length. That doesn't have to be too long.
No.
It could be,
no,
it could be a
Two
couple.
words.
Yeah, two
Right,
couple.
but-
Yeah, so we
but
got it.
provide them with the information in a report. And then if they have additional comments, if someone's on the call, they can answer it, but they may not, because that's going to, I think, answer their question. So if you look at,
Right.
watch it, answer their questions, which was basically, the task force, and also there's no way to enact it. And then they can decide from there what they want to do with it.
Yeah, because we're doing this right before. Yeah, it's just the timing is not. it
Well,
could've been-
again, they can forward it, but there's no mechanism to put it together.
Yeah. Okay. Unless the mayor just decides, okay, I'm going to find 2 more people and we're going to
Well,
appoint.
no, because you can't
no.
do that, because it's the charter.
It's the
You
charter.
can't, there's 2 pieces, and they're only addressing 1 piece, because they're trying to address some of the recommendations from the Charter Revision Commission, which is interesting, because there's 12 of them, and this is the one they start with.
I know.
So-
They probably thought it was the
Come on, we
easiest.
know why.
They thought it was going to be the easiest,
But you
the least
can't-
controversial,
Right, so look at
which
the
it should
city,
be, but you need to have your ducks in a row.
right, so look at the
Row,
city
right.
charter. They can't, if they're going to fix one
Right.
piece, if they're going to change one piece, they have to change the second piece, and that's not being addressed. They may choose to address it, but again, it's all going to probably be reviewed again by the task force. So that's all I got to say.
All right. Yeah, let's leave it there. We have it. We know.
So
we'll take a
Keanu,
look
will
at
you
that.
be, you'll get
Yeah,
something
we'll
to
take
us?
a look at that meeting. Yep, we'll take a look at that meeting and just respond to the questions. But you pretty much just laid it out. We all pretty much just laid it out. We'll
Keep it short and
respond
sweet.
to this. Yeah, because the task force, there's no mechanism put into place.
Regina, when does that agenda go out? When do you need it, have it?
For the rules
Yeah.
committee, their meeting is on the 4th. We typically try to send it out the Friday prior to.
So that's
Okay.
this coming Friday,
Yep.
not tomorrow, but the following one.
Yeah, the following Friday,
Okay,
October
so-
28th.
Okay, so if you can get something to us earlier and then get something to them by the end of the week.
Okay.
I could
Yeah.
always, if you created an email, I could always just forward the email to all city council. Then everybody would get it.
What do we?
I like everybody
But
getting
they-
it.
It's totally up to you.
But you can send the report to everybody else. I kind of like it being a little more formalized.
Right.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll send that over. And Regina, you mentioned something about you had a list of questions that you were going to add to the report. Is that to the bottom of the report? There are questions or something? I think I heard you say I'm going to add their questions to the bottom.
No,
of the
I
report.
was saying on the referral document that I
Right.
sent them previously, you could add a section at the bottom of the one that we already have and send to them. I could you could add whatever you wanted to send to the council, and I could resubmit it to them as
Yeah, do you
amended
mind sending
by
that?
date.
Yeah, do you mind sending that over to? Did you send that? Are we able to?
I think you sent it
and
to us.
Yeah,
I
I
think-
did. It's in the
Okay, so
packet
I'll
of
just
stuff we
add
got for
that.
this meeting. Yeah, and if you
Right.
look in your packet of information you have from this meeting, it's the actual referral form in it. If you wanted to write something on the bottom, I could actually
Yeah.
update the actual form and resend it to the rules committee. Because we
Yep, I
actually
have
attached it to CA2 because it was actually referred to you. So it will be attached to the legislation.
Okay.
It's
might
in the
have to mark amended or something, Regina, right? So that they,
Oh, yeah.
they
It's
look at
definitely-
it again.
Yeah, anything we add to legislation, we add by date. So it will be the date of this meeting. And then labeled as amended.
Right, and
Thank
Keanu,
you.
I had also sent an email when this first came up to both you and Debbie, giving sort of that rationale. So if you can find my email,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that too.
you can just,
Yeah, I am gonna find that email. I think it's, yep, I think it's here. Okay, perfect. All right, so I believe that's the last item on that is the last item on our agenda. If there aren't any other questions or comments on that.
So, this is new. Has there
Yes,
been,
please.
at the last can we go into new business or old business? Keanu?
Well, it's not on the, I believe we would have had
Oh.
to make an amendment of the
Oh.
amendment.
I
at the
just wondered,
beginning.
it's
Are
not
we
really,
able to-
well, just at the last meeting, Alderman Gay, we were told, had advised the mayor that he was going to resign, at the end, after the holidays. I just wondered what the status is of that, or what we need to do to prepare to fill that slot.
That's nothing, there's nothing to be done until he actually gives the mayor a letter with the actual date of his resignation in it. Then the clock
Okay.
starts rolling and it's spelled out in the charter what we need to do.
yeah, I
And
would
nothing
recommend
else?
It's in the
reading,
charter. The mayor would issue a proclamation stating that there's going to be a special primary and special general election in the ward, depending on the candidates who submit for them, for the
So
ward.
nothing has changed since last meeting, last month? He
No, ma'am.
hasn't done anything more? Okay.
no,
That's correct.
but we as a board should be familiar with the charter and what happens, because it's a very short timeline.
Very
Yes,
short.
Lord.
Yeah, and we did notify the county that we will possibly be having a election in the new year.
So we need to remember that that's another item on our purview, along with the task force starting
Yeah.
up next year. We could be having an early year election that would take
That's-
up some more time from us, right?
So basically, if we get the date for his retirement, your task force stuff goes on the back burner until we're finished with the special election.
That's my concern,
Mhm.
Well, I think we're already started on it, so, I mean.
Yeah, you can get it done before the beginning of the year. I think you're gonna be in a good
Right.
place.
That's
Right.
what we're trying to do.
Right, well,
You
and it
know.
all happens very quickly, so it's over
Yeah.
quickly also, it's over in potentially 30 days, so we're not talking about anything that's drawn out.
Yeah. But there's some long 30 days because you guys are gonna be required to be in a lot of places at a lot of times in the same week, right, Eileen?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the sooner we know, the better, because there's luckily, I mean, I know I'm gonna be gone in May, but I'm a little flexible, but we're
No,
starting
this
to
is all
plan
gonna,
things.
if he puts it in January 2nd, this is all gonna be done by February. This is a very go through the code and you'll have a
Yeah.
good understanding of how quickly it is. So
Yeah.
we really just have to wait until
We hear.
we get a date. I mean, we get notifications, so.
Now,
It's fine.
Thinking back to my alderman, Mark Rodriguez, he, and even my other alderman, Matt Silverman, I've had aldermen repeatedly that have not been here, but retained their position. And they were just remotely, they were in the South or they were in the West, but they never resigned. They were able to hold their position while being gone. Could that happen again?
Well, I mean, not to go past, but I mean, if they're still living here and their residence is listed here, they're still here. So in those cases, they had less than 15 months, and so it went to the central committee. But when
Mhm.
Shanika Henson resigned to become a delegate,
It was
that's
more than
why we had the special election was more than 15 months. So in this case, it's more than 15 months.
50.
So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, Jared was a work thing and Mark was a work thing, but
well, Jared filled the
I
position.
mean, Matt
Right,
Silverman.
Matt had a work situation. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so we'll just focus on this and,
Right. because I mean, it could be pushed back like Mark Rodriguez's was pushed back,
We'll
pushed
see.
later.
we'll
We
wait
shall.
and see. I mean, I think Alderman Gay has pushed it to the beginning of the year. So
Okay.
you just do it. It'll be
We'll-
fine.
And then we'll be updated. So we'll all know our schedule, things will
Well,
shift.
if I'm correct, it's once the letter is sent to the mayor, he has 5 days to declare an election and it has to be held within 25 days.
Yep. Yes,
So
that is
if there's a primary, if there's more than one candidate, we'll have a primary. If there's only one, then you still have to have an election, even if just one person signs up, you still have to have an election so that you have the opportunity for write-ins.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a question of, do we do 2 elections or 1?
Exactly.
Well, okay. And for next time, if that was a question or anything we need to talk about, we'll just add it as an agenda item. But I believe that is everything, you all.
Yeah, we
We
can't really do
made it.
anything.
We made it. Yeah, we can't.
All
We
right.
gotta just
I
wait on
have a
life.
motion to adjourn.
Okay,
All
can I
right.
ask one thing
Yes.
before you adjourn?
Yes,
Kiana,
yes.
you know you can submit things for your next agenda item while you're thinking about it now. You can submit them to us so we can add them to the agenda.
Oh, yes, yes. So I was just making a mention for if we wanted to talk about that at any point in time. Thanks for that. If we want to talk about that at any point in time, just make sure we add it to the agenda. So that we're not, just so that everyone's aware, we can actually spend some time on it. And I know
There's
it's
nothing
been.
to spend on it until
Yeah,
we get-
exactly. Let you know at any point, anything,
But we might
anything.
have it. We
You never
might have
know.
it next meeting.
Right, if he announces, then we'll put it, yeah, it'll be on the agenda, but
We'll put it, we can motion to do that, but
we'll be busy with the other stuff.
right. Okay. But I think we're set. And for the agenda purposes of next week, we'll just get updates. Well, for next week, we're not meeting every week. Next month, we'll just talk about we'll just talk about the updates from. And I think that's a good point that you make, Madam Clerk. If maybe at the end we can maybe talk about things we want to make sure that we see in the next agenda, just to be clear, to help also. So yeah, I think some updates on what we've talked about tonight, the email, the web page, all that.
But
And
that's going to be handled before our next meeting, so.
yeah, for sure. Maybe if we want to talk about, the process, what we've come up
Well,
with.
The next meeting, we should have the responses from the financial reports
Right.
that are due November 14.
Mhm.
So the financial reports would be on next agenda,
That'll be the focus, so.
the wrap
That-
up.
Meeting, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
All right, I made a motion on the
There's a
floor.
motion to,
Second.
yeah, there's a second. Okay, all in favor, everybody.
Is there a second?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I
All
as
right,
well.
good to see everyone.